G'day everyone and welcome back to the channel, and tonight we are making shepherd's pie. Of course, when you cook a big joint of meat like I did the lamb the other day, you're left with the question of what to do with the leftovers. So as you can see, I've taken cold cuts off it and had it on sandwiches and that sort of thing, and we got a piece left over. So what we're going to do with that is do a traditional sort of UK sort of thing, and that's create a shepherd's pie. So I'm just gonna cut the meat off. Alright, now traditionally the leftover bones would then go on to make a soup. So you wouldn't worry about any straggly bits of meat left on it. That would be the soup that you're making. Alright, now we need to slice it up into something that will go into the pie. So we'll grab out the chef's knife and get to it. Now, originally shepherd's pie was known as a cottage pie. It was made by the poor people who live in cottages. It was done exactly the same as this with the leftovers, and then used to make another meal, and then we get the third meal, which is the soup out of the bones. So it didn't become known as a shepherd's pie until recent times, when they started making mincemeat as a commercial thing. So probably only about 80 years ago. It was known as a cottage pie up until then, and then later on it became a shepherd's pie. Now, in the modern way, the shepherd's pie is lamb, like we're using tonight, and a cottage pie is beef. So that is the difference between a shepherd's and a cottage pie. Okay, there we go. We've got it all cut up into pieces which are the right size for our pie. So we'll save those. There we go, and now we will move on to our vegetables. Okay, so we got some potatoes that were left over from the other day. As you can see, been in the fridge to soften the outside of those a bit, and a sweet potato that's left from the other day. So I'll just chunk all these up. Okay, we've also got some corn left over, so I'm just gonna strip that off the ear, and that can go in as well. Alright, so there we have the start of our meal. We have our leftover lamb, and we have our vegetables. A lot more vegetables than lamb, which is sort of normal. Generally you'd add a few different leftover vegetables, add some fresh vegetables to it. For that I'm going to throw in some frozen vegetables. But yeah, that's the basis of our shepherd's pie, and we'll take it from there. Alright, well let's head over to the stove and start cooking. Okay, we're going to start with our onion jam, because again, that's a leftover. If you didn't have the onion jam, you just throw in a fresh onion and fry that up before you got started. Onions, leeks, that sort of thing, they were common back in the day. Alright, I have a little bit of the injection left over, so we'll put some of that in. That way we're keeping the flavours the same. And we'll just break up that jam where it's gotten a bit clingy from setting up in the fridge. As you can see, it's drawing that injection in really quickly because the fridge tends to dry stuff out a bit. A bit more liquid. Okay, let's add our meat in. Now we're going to add our new vegetables in at this stage. These are pretty small, so they're not going to take a lot of cooking. But they will take more cooking than the already cooked vegetables. Get away with adding the rest of that in. Now I don't want too much liquid in here. I want a fairly thick sort of sauce in it. Just because that's the way I prefer it. So we'll let all that marry around. Let those vegetables thaw out and start to cook. And then once that's happened, we'll add the other vegetables back in there. So give it a little while, let it have some heat, and I'll bring you back soon. Okay, as you can see, let's cook the vegetables down a bit. The lamb's taken up the moisture, the onions have taken up the moisture, they've all separated out. Looking delicious now. Alright, so we will add in our leftover vegetables. As I said, these do not need the cook time that the other ones do. Stir those through. Okay, and I'm going to end up with not enough moisture in there by the time the vegetables have sucked up a bit more moisture. So I'm just going to add in some hot water straight out of the kettle. Okay, now I'm just going to simmer that for a couple of minutes. Once that's simmered for a couple of minutes, I will put the lid on it, let it all sit there in the heat while I get some mashed potato ready. So I will join you back later when we do mashed potato. Alright, let's see you in a bit. Alright, there we go folks, the humble spud or potato. Originally bought back on his travels by the privateer Sir Francis Drake, as he circumnavigated the world, and was seen as a poisonous thing and a weird thing that people wouldn't eat, because the plant was poisonous and you grew it from the tuber, which was the only part that was edible, which was totally unusual for anything in Europe at the time. It was early introduced and accepted by the Irish. After 40,000 acres were grown by Sir Walter Riley, potato was found to be the perfect crop for Ireland, with their boggy sort of soils. They struggled with grain crops, ended up with fungal diseases and that sort of thing, like ergot, which caused quite a lot of problems. Ergot can drive you insane, so not really great stuff. And they found that potato and skim milk was the basis of a healthy diet. Basically, the two of them, between them, they will give you all the vitamins and minerals that you need in your diet. So, yes, it is a starch. It's a starchy vegetable, but it is also full of vitamins and minerals. So, it's a wonderful thing, the old spud. Its Latin name is the Solemn tuberosa, as it's a member of the solemn family, the same as deadly nightshade, the potato, the eggplant, the tomato, the eggplant. So, and that is because it contains the solemn part in the green part of the potato plant. It's much the same as your tomato leaves and all that sort of thing. Also, the tobacco is a member of the family. So it's a pretty wild and varied family that has come from across in South America. It's made big differences to the world, and it's a wonderful thing. And anyone who's a regular watcher of my channel will not be surprised at me waxing lyrical about a potato, because let's face it, I love the things. They are great, they taste good, and they're good for you, unlike everyone keeps telling me. Alright, there's our mash all done. We'll just add some salt and pepper to that, and then we'll be ready to get it ready for the oven. Alright, I'll meet you back in a bit after I've seasoned this. Okay folks, there is our stew portion of this. As you can see, got a nice thick sauce going through it. Yeah, that's why I haven't added too much moisture. The cooked potatoes are broken down a bit, giving it a bit of starch. So that's a wonderful thing. Now traditionally, your cottage pie or your shepherd's pie had a crust that was made of the potato, and then it had a top over. Much the same as you do a traditional sort of meat pie with a pastry crust. It was done that way with a potato crust. But in a more modern version, we go straight in with the meat and vegetables. And we'll flatten that off. And then we'll bring our tatties in here. Okay, there's our beautiful mash, all seasoned up. So that's just on the top. The other good thing about the potato, as far as a peasant was concerned, unlike a grain crop where you had to take it to the miller, and then the miller would take his cut out of the grain crop, as well as the Lord taking his cut, with a potato it doesn't need to go to anyone. You can do your potato at home, so it cuts out that extra step in it. Means there's not someone in the middle profiting off your labours. So just flatten off our potato. Okay, now I know I'm going to get told off for this bit, but to form a crust on the top, we're just going to use some potato chips. So yes, for the two that are going to comment on it, Dana and James, there is potato in it, there is potato on it, and there's a potato crust. And that's a good thing. All right, so we're gonna heat up the oven. It's gonna go in the oven just to brown up the top, and then it's gonna be done. Just gonna put it into a sort of mid-temperature oven. Everything's all cooked. I literally just want to brown the top. That's all I'm after. So I'll put it in the oven and bring it back out in a wee bit. All right, see you soon. All right, folks, there we are, all done. There is our beautiful shepherd's pie. So we'll just move that aside. And we've gone from that tiny little bit of leftover to a great big container full of food. And that is exactly what peasant food is all about, taking those little bits of leftover and turning it into something magnificent like this. Okay, as a side dish for it, I've done some spinach and bacon. Again, this is still keeping within that sort of time. While the Irish were quick to embrace the humble spud, the rest of Europe figured the potato was just a poisonous thing. It was only fit to feed to animals. So, you know, pigs ended up eating a lot of it. So we end up with bacon. And the wilted green's very much part of the Irish diet, with cabbages and kale and that sort of thing. So, how does it taste? Some spud, some meat, some veggies. Oh, it's good. And yes, it tastes as good as it looks. Well, there we go. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Please hit that like, hit the subscribe, and hit that little bell notification. And that way you get to see any other future cooking videos I have, whether they have these little history spiels or not. Yeah, and type a comment down below. Let me know what you think about me rattling on a bit of history at the same time as doing the cooking. All right, thank you again, everyone, for watching, and bye for now.